Last analysis got a little off the rails, huh? Well, you'll be glad to know that this analysis will be a little more conventional. It will also be the last lightning analysis video for this season, given that there will only be 2 stories after these ones, and they will certainly both be getting their own videos. Let's begin with the first story, Steps, a story found at the beginning of episode 11 and is based on the manga's 80th chapter. A neat quirk of this story is that it showcases 3 of Takagi's winning tactics all in one story. The first thing she does is slightly change the rules to take away Nishikata's advantage. Other examples of this practice can be found in Bicycle when she limits Nishikata to 1 guess, Dodgeball when she gets rid of the time limit rule, and Eye Drops where she ironically creates a time limit rule. The second thing she does is accurately guess the number of steps to the pole according to Nishikata's estimate. There is no way she could have had any certainty in that guess, meaning that she succeeded in that regard by sheer luck. Luck has been a part of Takagi's victories ever since cleaning duty when she won 4 consecutive games of Scissors Paper Rock. Lastly, during the game when it seems as though she is about to lose, she distracts Nishikata. This tactic is usually employed to hinder Nishikata's attempt as opposed to ending the game altogether, a la Empty Cans when she distracts him mid-throw, and Water Slide when she tells him the rumour about the water slide to get him off her tail. I can see why Steps was adapted to take place in the summer as opposed to a regular weekend like it was in the manga. This point in the series is perfect for a story that you can use to look back on previous encounters. Looking at Takagi's tactics gives us a chance to reminisce on the show and remember part of what we love about it. However, the aspect of the story that helps it stand out among the others is the way in which Takagi distracts Nishikata. There's something interesting about Nishikata worrying that he is acting like a stalker, and it reminds me of the freakout he had in Messages when he first sent the Kisu message. In both cases, he has different reasons for being concerned. In Messages, he claims that he is worried about the embarrassment, and in Steps, he is worried about being associated with such a dirty word. However, and this is a bit of a stretch, but what if the thing that Nishikata is really worried about is losing Takagi to his own actions, about overstepping and scaring her away? He wants Takagi to feel the sting of defeat, but he doesn't want to lose her. It's also another opportunity for Nishikata to be exposed to the idea that he might consider her to be more than a friend. When Takagi wonders what kind of person would know her whereabouts, Nishikata immediately thinks of a stalker. This conclusion shows us that he perceives his own actions as inappropriate, and following this revelation, he tries to justify himself. However, Takagi sees things differently, that Nishikata must have learnt about her movements and bumped into her on purpose because he likes her and wants to spend more time with her. Of course, he denies this with a dishonest expression and cannot even reiterate his point when he is challenged on it. The end of this story gives more context into Worries. Now, in the Worries analysis, I spilt all the beans in regards to what the argument was about, but something you need to keep in mind is the breadcrumb trail that leads to that full picture. In Worries, we learn that Takagi had been in an argument with her mother. We don't learn that the argument was about vacation dates until Messages, and we then learn that Takagi wanted to go on the trip earlier than her mother did right here in Steps. Whether or not you could have seen the full picture coming, it is finally confirmed to us in the very next A-plot story, Souvenirs. A story you can find 8 minutes and 40 seconds in episode 11 and is based on the manga's 60th chapter. First, I would like to discuss the fact that Nishikata got Takagi a souvenir at all. He describes his journey to find those biscuits as something he did every day, thinking about Takagi the whole time. When Takagi points out that he was thinking about her, he is quick to deny this as he knows that he was only thinking about their rivalry. But my question is, was he really? Here comes another stretch, but it's very possible that Nishikata was thinking about Takagi in general, and that his conscious mind interpreted that as a desire to trick her. The fact that he is nervous throughout the story could potentially support this point. Being away from Takagi for so long but thinking about her every day is what makes him so nervous. Of course, Takagi uses their rivalry to encourage him into spending more time with her. She doesn't know that he is planning a trick, but she suspects that something is up and that she may as well try to use it to keep him around. Usually in these analysis videos, I try to keep things as professional as possible and refrain from describing any sort of emotional reaction that I had to the show. Unless of course that emotional reaction was the result of or a precursor to an analytical point worth being made about a story. So when I tell you that the reaction Takagi had to receiving a souvenir melted my heart, I say that to begin a discussion on the primary aspect of this story. Also, I do like this show a lot, and moments like this make me squee. I've brought up a few times by now that Nishikata has an inner conflict over whether he sees Takagi as a friend or a rival. Usually the rivalry lens wins out, but as the show goes along, he sees her as a friend more and more often. The last major breakthrough of this attitude was in worries/messages, when Nishikata put aside his competitive feelings for a moment to consider that making Takagi happy was worth considering a victory. What you need to remember about that moment, however, is that cheering Takagi up was an accident that he retroactively decided wasn't a waste of time. In Souvenirs, we see him take a big step forward. During the story, he is excited to see Takagi eat the sour biscuits he got for her and fall into his trap. However, after her eager reaction to receiving the gift and admitting that it made her very happy, Nishikata caves and spills the beans. But why? Why would he pull the plug on a trick that was likely going to succeed? Well, because his priorities shifted. Had the plan gone through, Takagi likely wouldn't have been happy to discover that this gift was just another prank. And suddenly, for Nishikata, the happiness she exhibited was worth more than the victory he would have achieved had the plan gone through. He has gone from retroactively putting her happiness above his need for victory to doing it before his plan even has a chance to pay off. The source material for this story stops when Takagi says that Nishikata will be eating the first biscuit, but the anime adaptations continues from that point, actually showing us the two eating biscuits together at the shrine. It is at this point that we get the final piece to the puzzle regarding the argument from Worries. We may have suspected as much during our first viewing, but it is explicitly confirmed to us that the argument was over vacation dates overlapping with the summer festival, that Takagi wanted to be home for the summer festival, and that she wants Nishikata to invite her. She refers to him the same way she did in Valentine's Day, as someone who gets teased a lot, possibly associating the inherently romantic event of Valentine's Day to Nishikata's potential invitation to make her desires clear. The final shot of this story is later that night. Nishikata is contemplating what Takagi said to him. Knowing all the trouble she went through to be home for the day of the festival, and noticing all of his changing attitudes towards her would have him thinking differently than usual. But let's save that discussion for when his changed perspective actually reflects in his actions, which, as you all know, is just around the corner. And that is it for this analysis. A big welcome to Data52, who has become a patron alongside Orion Tran, Quincy Chamberlain, and Lars Espen. If you too would like to become a patron or join the fine folks on the Discord server, then you can do so via links in the description. Outtakes for this video are available on my Patreon for free and on the Discord server. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.